Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone to this 100 Days of No Code workshop. Really excited to be here with Kevon from Public Labs, who's going to be sharing with us how to get started building in public, which is a really key skill to start building an authentic voice online and building authentic businesses and audiences. So this is a really key skill for us to develop, especially so as we're all doing the 100 Days of No Code Challenge, which requires us to kind of share what we're doing every day. So hopefully this workshop will give us some guidance on how to actually do that. But I think we're just going to start with kind of what build in public is, moving into some channels we can exploit, and how you can really get going yourself. So on that note, I shall pass over to you, Kevon, to get us going.
Sure, thank you, Max. So let me share my screen here. Okay, here. Okay, give me 1 second.
No worries, all good.
I need to change something, so sorry. Give me one minute.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay.
All good. I'm just admiring your bookshelf in the background.
Looks thank good. You.
Yes.
Where's the? Anyway, okay. I was trying to find out how to record this, but I'll ask you for it.
Yeah, I can chuck it over to you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so let me see. Am I sharing my screen?
Not at the moment. You were, and then it stopped sharing. Yeah.
Okay. What about now?
It's just firing up. Let's see. Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. So my name is Kevon. I'm going to share, let me know if you cannot listen to me. So I'm going to share what building in public is today based on my personal journey, because when I listen to presentation or people speaking, I always find it more engaging when people are telling a story. So my journey is exactly like the emoji on the screen. It has been a roller coaster, and I want to tell you what happened. So there's an entrepreneur who first said this quote, the best part of building in public is that I can stop relying on my brain. I just want to throw it out there. Does anyone know what that means? Like, why is it stop relying on my brain? Okay, this is supposed to be a presentation, so maybe it's a bit weird to throw the questions out there, right, Max? What about you, Max? What do you think that is?
Yeah, no problem at all. It's always good to get some kind of interaction going. Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it's kind of like if you stop using your brain, you're like thinking less and you're being like more authentic. I don't know, in the sense of like you're not overthinking what you should say, or I don't know. That's just what comes to mind. But I'm probably completely off track there.
There are probably so many answers, but for me, I used to create a lot of ideas in my mind. So I just assume things, I just brainstorm new ideas, but that is not, those are just hypotheses. They're not really validated ideas. So what this means is that building in public, you are sharing a lot in public. That means you're getting a lot of feedback and probably comments, even criticism back, but those are really good data points so that you can use them, analyze them, and grow your business or grow your personal brand, whatever. But it's the data point. So you don't need to think about it using your brain. So who's this quote from? Is actually from me. So trying to lighten up the mood a bit. So today we're going to cover 4 things. All right. So the first part is going to be building in public, how it helped me got on a new path, a new journey, a new entrepreneurial journey. And the second part is, of course, when I'm sharing the story, I want to give you some key concepts about building in public, because that's what you're here for. And to wrap it up, I'm going to share my secret weapons and a few things that you should know about building in public. So you probably don't need to read my guide after this workshop, because I'm going to spill everything to you here. First of all, who is Kevon? So as I said, I grew up in Hong Kong. I hopped on a plane at 15 when I was 15 years old, just by myself, to fly to, I think, New York State. So I was crying when I got into the gate. But anyway, I spent 7 years boarding school, college, around Boston. And then I moved back to Hong Kong. So that's where I'm based. I had a 9 years career so far. Some people think I just graduated or I'm still in school, but I worked for 9 years. So I started my career as a software engineer, and then I have been running startups, non-tech, tech, for the last couple of years. The last 2 years was a big turning point for me because I was running an angel-backed startup based in Hong Kong, but we're building a global product. So you can see on the picture, there's my title and the startup name called Toasty. So it was a very challenging experience for me. And that motivated me to get away from going down that venture back path. I don't want to find investor anymore. So right now I'm bootstrapping, I'm being like the indie route. I'll share a little bit more later. And I'm also a new dad. So in the room next to me, I have a 5 months old baby girl sleeping. That's why I can do this. And I got on Twitter about 7, 8 months ago. I had the account for a long time, but I used to think that it's a place where Donald Trump just talk a lot about different topics. So I never really used it until I left the startup that I was struggling with to grow it. And I had some time and I just try to browse around and learn things. So this building in public journey is also my way of figuring out how I can bootstrap my sort of internet path to do things online so that I'm not really limiting myself to a location. Because the reason why I'm like talking to people all over the world is I find it very inspiring to talk to people about this kind of topic, and they're usually not in my city. Okay, so I'm gonna have a timeline here. So this is October 2020. I was running this venture-backed startup, Toasty. And let me share a little bit why I was struggling with it. So if you're entrepreneurs, you understand, on one hand, you need to try really hard to find product market fit. And for me, I had the privilege of partnering up with an angel investor. So I started with capital. And with capital, what do? You get spoiled. You went out and hired people. So I got on the far right is my CTO, and then second to the right is my head of product. So I got these people and then engineers, designer, all on board. But I didn't really know what problem we are solving. So we jumped into building a product. And as I said, I was imagining stuff in my head, imagining a solution to a problem. And after we built the product, it's a great product, but we just didn't learn enough about the problem space. So that's one struggle on one hand. On the other hand, I was managing all this investor relations, and it was just really hard because they wanted to grow, but I knew it was not ready. So in October, I decided to stop and I left the company. So in November, that's when I started to figure out new things. I fell in love with this guy called Nat Ellison. Not literally fell in love, but he's basically the inspiration for me to get online. And I read this one blog post from him that is titled "How to Start a Blog That Changes Your Life." And at that point, I just didn't really know where to go. I mean, I had all these entrepreneurial failures in my in my belt, and I don't really know where to go. So he talks about how you can write articles. So what I decided to do is, okay, I had so many failures, struggles in my past experience. Why don't I just share it with people? And he talks about how I should just write about what I know and what I'm excited about. So here you can see this is my personal website. And once a week, I would write one article. And let's go from bottom up. You can see the topics are around copywriting examples, user interview traps, SEO, goal setting template, validating startup idea, fighting decision fatigue. So I was just writing whatever interests me. And I didn't just write about the concepts. All these blog posts are based on my personal experience. So personally, I hate reading company blog because they're so dry. They lack personality. But when I read blog posts like Nat, I feel really connected to the author. So that's why I approach it this way. And okay, so now we're getting into the building in public stuff. So I was doing it very slowly because I was learning about all these new spaces that I've never been exposed to. And you can see on Twitter, this is Jan 17, 2021. I had 500 followers. And honestly, you can see my account was created in 2009. These are just like random people, friends that I accumulated in the last 10 years without even using the account. So I didn't know anyone on Twitter, but I got onto indiehackers.com and I really loved the vibe, people bootstrapping, people building things. Even though I don't code anymore, but I feel like I find my tribe, and a lot of them are on Twitter. So I moved over to Twitter as well. And at that point, I was writing all these standalone blog posts, right? And back in my head, I knew it's not going to work because blog posts, you can get a bit of traction, but I'm never going to build up my name just by writing blog posts. So in Jan 2021, 3 months in, I decided, hey, Kevon, I have to do something bigger. So what I did was I came to learn about all these keywords like building in public, micro SaaS, audience first, and I write them all down. And I actually did a basic Google search and search volume analysis. And on this graph, you can see if I just follow the numbers, I should really go down the no code path because it has a lot more search volume. Building in public has 0 to 10. So basically, no one really cares about it. But when I have to come to a decision where, okay, what big piece of content I should create to make an impact, to build some noise for myself, I just couldn't do no code because I love no code, obviously, but it doesn't represent me. Like I cannot talk about no code every single day. But when I look at building in public and start learning about the concepts, it's about being authentic. It's about a lot of sharing. It's not about being an expert, but it's more about just being you. And I was like, wow, that is my life principle and values that I've been living for. So I'm definitely going to enjoy writing this big piece of content. And when people come around me, I'm going to enjoy talking about this. So I actually go against my analysis and decided to do something non-obvious, which is starting to research more about building in public. So on the right-hand side, you can see my Notion page. I basically manually scrape the internet, not scrape, basically me serving the internet and look at what people are talking about building in public, what questions they're asking, why are they struggling? And I took a lot of notes. So that gave me a lot of data to work with. And I decided to write everything in a building in public definitive guide. Well, I used the word definitive because everyone is using it. So I thought it would be cool. And I decided to do it building in public way, which is technically writing in public. But I think building doesn't really mean just SaaS product. As long as you're building products, I think you can say it's building in public. So you can see on the right, it's still Jan 8 at that point. I haven't written anything, but I embrace the concept of building in public. So I just write a thread about, I decided to write a guide about building in public. This is my research process. All right. Second thread, a day later, I write another thread about Should I make it pay or free? So basically just brain dump my decision making process, all the thoughts in my head. And then a few days later, I write another thread about actually about what is not important, but let's pay attention to the engagement numbers. For the third thread, because I don't have any friends on Twitter yet, I get like 10 likes, okay? And then a couple of days later, I write another one, which is about part one launching. So of course, I've been writing in parallel as I push out these threads, but you can see I only get 14 likes. So here comes the first building in public lesson. When you're sharing things at first, if you don't have a lot of followers, no audience, you're not going to get a lot of eyeballs. And a lot of people would quit at this point because, oh, no one likes what I do. Let's just give up. But I have to tell you that some people say a person has to see it 7 times before they buy something. And I like to say they have to see it 7 times before they care about it, before they know Kevon is writing this guide. So for me, I just like heads down, let's keep going. So that's lesson number 1. And what happened was that other than writing those like decision-making process, my thoughts, I also started to loop in people because I know at that point, actually on Twitter, there are some people who like building in public, right? You can easily find them by using the hashtag. So basically I was looping in early readers. I'm like, I'm writing this guide, it's brand new. Is there anyone who wants to get early access and give me some feedback? And surprisingly, I think around 7 to 8 people show their hands in the first round. And here on this screen, I'm launching second part. So I'm asking again. And what happened was that another 8 or 9 people, brand new, not different people from part 1, showed their hands as well. So this really amazed me because I have nothing, like I have no credibility, I was nobody, and people are willing to help. But the second lesson of building in public here is that a lot of people think building in public is like, oh, I'm sharing a lot of things about me. But if you're really doing it in a way that you can maximize the impact, you want to involve people in the process as well. Because when you bring in people, they instantly know that you're working on this thing, right? And they consistently get reminded about what you're working on. So by the time you launch it, you don't even need to sell anything because these people are around your product development process and they would be even there to support you because they're part of it. They're giving feedback to my guide. So you don't have to sell anything. So this is a second benefit of building in public. And Feb 3rd, you can see the date at the top, Feb 3rd, which is about a month after I decided to publish that. I'm going to write a guide, but in total, including my research, it took about 2 months. So I just basically launch it. And you can see at the bottom, this post gets so much engagement. And if you ask me why, I think it's because one, the reason why I focus on this topic is that I just didn't find any good resources teaching people how to build in public. And I want to help people out. So I guess people find that helpful as well. But the second reason is that in the last 1 month, because I'm writing in public, but building in public, I have created this momentum where a lot of people around me keep hearing, hey, Kevon is writing that building in public guide. And when it launched, it just like, they are aware and they help me share it. It's not easy to get 98 retweets from a nobody like me. So really grateful about that. And the building in public process really helped me out. And let's talk about how I launch it. So a lot of people, like when they're launching their, I don't know, tiny product or SaaS product, they just put it on Twitter and expect the best to happen. But because I knew I need to work harder on it, so I basically reach out to all these people who helped me in the process. So here's a guy who helped me read my guide and give me some feedback. So I just reach out to them in DM, direct message, and ask if they can help me retweet. So it's really okay to help people to, it's really okay to ask people to help you out, because obviously if you reach out to someone you have no interactions with on Twitter and you're selling them things, they're not going to reply to you. But I've been really just open in the process, and we already established that relationship. So when I ask them, they're really happy to help. So you can see building in public is also about building relationships. And I still remember that day I was on Google Analytics. I was being a kid and I just sit there and watch this real analytics. And it goes from like 30, 40, 50 people on my website at the same time. And I was so excited because I've never had, I mean, when I was a kid, I ran some website, but so far in the last few years, I've never had so many people excited about one thing that I do for this impact. So I was really excited. And the impact also happened on Twitter. So at that point, before the guide, I had about 700 followers. And then right after the launch, in a few days, I doubled my follower count. So this is pretty much because like people really love valuable content. So if you are able to share and help people out, they would follow you. So I personally don't really care about follower counts because I want people to look at building in public not like a growth hack strategy. I want people to look at building in public like a just being true to yourself and authentic. So the numbers really doesn't matter if you're doing good things. I also put up the guide on Hacker News, and somehow I got to the first page 20. So it helped me a little bit as well. And here is my website traffic. So I ran kevonchang.com for years, but barely anyone visit my blog because I never write. But then the guide launched and I went up to like 1,000 traffic, and then it dies down. But until today, I'm still getting like 60 or 200 people, I think every day. So honestly, that's pretty good to me. Nothing to complain. And then this is Fab 15. So like I said, building in public is finding a lot of different angles to share about your journey. So whatever you're working on, basically you can talk about it. Of course, there should be lesson learned for other people to pick up. Otherwise, you're just bragging. So for me, I've seen a lot of people do this where they had some sort of success and they just wrap up all the stats and learnings and share it out again. So I launched this kind of retrospective about the launch, and I put in some numbers and it got a lot of traffic as well. So people are really interested to see how I did it. And this, I can tell you that this type of content is what people really like, because these days, we're not looking for people to teach us concept. I think we are more inspired by people showing how they do it. And then we grab the story and we think about, oh, okay, they try this way, maybe I can try it this way as well. I think this is a better way of learning, and building in public enables that to happen. Okay, I need to catch my breath. So we are coming to March 2021. So at this point, I have been doing free work. I have no income. And my wife would come to me and say, when are you going to charge people? And I would tell her that not yet. I'm still a nobody. So I need free stuff to build up my voice and my credibility. But the good thing is that people start to kind of refer to the guide as a go-to place. So when people ask, I want to know more about building in public, and some people would just naturally share it with them. So that really gives me a great boost, and a lot of building in public people start to surround me. And here is a message from someone who read my guide, and he's asking me, hey, why are you not charging for the guide? honestly pay a good amount for it. This is a trap for a lot of new entrepreneurs online, because for me, I can easily make like 500-700 US dollar from this guy. But that money is not really the key to my journey. It's just a very small part. But in the early days, I knew internally that my goal is to, help people and build up my trust with them and my credibility. That $500-700 really means nothing to me. So I want to bring this up because I know a lot of people fall into this trap. I have seen so many creators and builders around me. The first thing they do online is to charge people. And yeah, okay, I'll just leave it there. Um, so let's keep going with my journey. At that point, I had no way to monetize. I have some free content out there, and it is really time for me to figure it out. And as I said, people interested in building in public has been surrounding me, asking me questions, and I go to Indie Hackers, the building in public group, to help out every single week. And for me, I was thinking about how I can figure out my next step. And guess what happened? I built in public to sort that out. So on Twitter, I basically just announced, hey, I'm going to create a cozy group for building in public. So back in my head, I have the idea of creating a community, but I knew I cannot just create a community of building in public and then shove it to people. That's not going to work. I have to start small. So I just announced I'm going to create a group, I don't know, for like 10, 15 people or whatever. And I put it out there. I basically want to test out the water and see how many people are actually interested in this. So on the forum, I even asked something about like, would you pay $5, $10, $15 for this community? So just testing the water, which is another great thing about building in public. And so that went really well. I got, I think, 30 or 40 submissions for the forum. And I think I formed a group of like 12 to 15 people in the DM group. So I was basically just focusing on understanding what they're talking about in the group, what kind of questions they still have in building in public, and how I can do more to help them be good at building in public, right? So I was still like just doing free stuff. But time comes when I really want to grow the community for a little bit. And I decided to talk about it in public again. So this time, instead of just pitching people about this new idea, I was sharing a piece of blog post that I wrote about the successful launch of the guide. And at the end, I just like have a little question. Hey, I'm actually looking for 20 more people for this community. If anyone is interested, then just let me know. So I focus on sharing the value first, and then just follow up with my so-called call to action. So the third building in public lesson here is that you just need to keep sharing and keep educating others. People, I want to say building in public is actually authentic audience building. So a lot of people would build an audience by sharing like expert lines on Twitter, slogan, short and sweet, but you don't really know what that means. But to me, yeah, some people can do that, but I think it's more effective if you're just using yourself and valuable content to attract people to follow you. Because from my experience, I can see that they don't just follow me, they actually have a lot of trust in me. And I keep seeing the same people around all the time because we have these relationships. So just keep doing it. I'm going to drink some water now. Okay, I cannot see anyone, so I don't know how everyone is doing.
You're all good. This is really, really, really insightful. Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks for the pulse check.
I like it, Kevon. I like this. Your stories got me hooked.
Exactly.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad you like it. I spent hours on this. Okay, let's keep going. At the same time, you probably have questions about building in public that a lot of people have, which is, do I sound like I'm bragging about myself all the time? The truth is, yes, a little bit, but I'm going to tell you how to answer that question to yourself. For me, I decided I have to promote myself. When indie hackers talk about my guide, I retweet it. I thank indie hackers because I want to, let people know indie hackers recommended me. And then I'm a pretty open book person. Like, I like to talk about my weaknesses. So when I was thinking about, okay, what else I can do to like get some story behind my journey, I looked at my organic search results, and I basically just shared a screenshot of my Google Sheet. A lot of people, when they look at this, they're like, Kevon, are you crazy? Like, if people know that you can get clicks for building in public, they're gonna come and compete with you. They're gonna try to take over your spot. To me, I don't really care. Like, if people have the same passion for a topic and they want to just write a blog post and compete, they can do it. But I know this is gonna be my main focus for many years to come. So I don't care if they want to compete with me. But this kind of transparency really just grab more people to build trust with you, because you're just honestly sharing everything you know. And of course, I took my chance to, boost my own ego a little bit. So if I rank number one, I just share it. But I also make sure that I share the lesson, which is no shortcut. Like, this is all hard work. If there's someone who's like preaching, oh, I make 6,000 in 6 hours, that's a lie. They have done so much work before that to get to that point, because of the audience they have, because of the trust. So I never believe in those kind of titles, but I just want people to know that it's a slow and painful process. So I think this is the fourth lesson of building in public. Do yourself a favor, promote yourself. No one's going to promote you. So do it for yourself. And let's go back to the question of, like, are you bragging when you're building in public? I like to tell people that if you have been consistently honest and helpful to other people 95% of the time, and then when you're like me, who like share a little bit of brags 5% of the time, people understand, like, we need to do it. It's part of the whole journey. And instead of despise you, they actually come and support you when you brag for yourself. This is why Twitter is so awesome. It's so supportive. So don't brag 100% of the time, then you are a bragger. But 5% of the time, totally fine. People love it. All right. So I think it's April. Yeah, you can see the date. It's April. While I'm figuring out how to sustain myself and my family and make this internet thing work, I still make a lot of free content. So this is another email course that I built on my free time, is making Twitter friends. So it is another way for me to help people and get some traction to my name. So this course is doing quite well. I think I get like 400 people in the first few weeks, and it's not an irrelevant course. Making Twitter friends is so important in the building in public concept. So that's why I created it as an extension to what I do. So fifth lesson here, give away free stuff. I mean, when we entrepreneurs are so busy, we always tend to think about, oh, we can only do stuff to get that growth, to get that number. To me, it's the opposite. Like, the more free stuff you give away, the more people are going to gather around you. So yeah, it's a little counterintuitive, but I don't know how to explain that. It's like, the less you try, the more it will happen. The less you focus on the follower count, the more followers you can get. So it's a bit of like philosophy there. Okay, moving to the last part of my journey. Last month, I decided to take a big step in building in public, because in the first 6 months, I made $0 online. Painful. But May, I started to have my first revenue. And it was because, as you can see under the revenue number, I made 1,000. And I was running a cohort to get people to build in public in 30 days. And then I also run a community. So I was struggling whether I should share this number. When it was 0, I definitely didn't want to share because what's the point? Like there's no learning there. But now that it's the first month I have this number, I still struggle because it means I have to show that I am going to make it work, right? If June it drops, which June will be like 200 because I don't have a cohort. So if it drops or if it's flat, it proves to people that Kevon is just not that smart, right? So it's painful, it's scary, but at the same time, I have this one person. So I talk about Nat Ellison. There's another person I really like, Monica Lenz. I don't know if some of you heard of her. She has this retrospective and income statement, and basically same format because I was referencing hers. And when I read her retrospective, I was just so inspired because there are so many advice given by people on the internet, like tweets. But if you don't really have the business metrics to tie in with what you do, people can lie about all kinds of things. You never know whether that strategy is really working. People just talk about whatever. But when I read Monica's retrospective, I clearly see that she has tried this, and that, and it boosts up revenue by how many numbers. And I clearly see that how she worked her way to like maybe cut down some costs or whatever. So all the decision in running a business is right there. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, I really like Monica because of this post. What if people read my retrospective and income report? That's when I knew I had to share it because I just learned so much from Monica. I want to have the same effect on people. So yeah, I decided to do it for the sake of kind of keeping myself accountable, but also inspire a little bit of other people. So at the bottom, you can see I published this, I think, 2 weeks ago, early June, and 439 people read it so far. I mean, it's not a big number. I'm not like a celebrity on Twitter. I'm just a new person doing this for 7-8 months. So to me, I think it's a pretty good number there. I like it so much that I run this community called Public Lab. It's all focused on authentic entrepreneurship, building in public. So I like it so much that I was actually looking for the identity of my community. And I found it, which is I need to encourage all the people around me to do this retrospective. If they don't want to share their income, it's fine. But the process of reflecting on your journey and sharing it out is so powerful. It's the real way of building an audience. So that's why I want to do it. So I think this is the last lesson of this journey, which is the world is a really fair place. The deeper you go, which is sharing your numbers, the more uncomfortable you go, the more people come to check you out. Because if you're talking about something that everyone talks about, then they don't have a reason to follow you. So, okay, I think we have some time, right? 42. Wait, I'm talking for too long, but let me just quickly go through this because I think this is the key takeaway. If you want a screenshot, go ahead. Secret weapon, be yourself and have fun. I see a lot of Twitter accounts. They're just like imitating experts, trying to be smart in their tweets. No, just have fun, be yourself. If you want to tweet about your baby, your dog, go ahead. Secondly, share and not teach. So building in public is sharing your journey and using your reflection and decision making to make it like good learnings for others. You're not teaching people. You're not an instructor. So this is a very important point. And write free content and help people. You get that. Documenting your journey. So you can see from this presentation, I use a lot of tweets. If you don't talk about it in public, you're not going to have those materials to write the story out. So make sure you do your retrospective, you write your tweets, and you have a whole library of materials for your building in public journey. Okay, this one is important. Be an entrepreneur. So I don't know you guys listening to me right now, but a lot of builders on the internet, I feel like they're just so focused on building the product, like making the tweaks, coding, but they're not really thinking like an entrepreneur, which is, as an entrepreneur, you have to get yourself out there. You have to stand on stage talking to people. So I encourage people to shift their mindset from a builder to an entrepreneur, which is much more broad. Like you need to embrace the pain, the struggles of being in public. And lastly, which I cannot see because I'm seeing Max's face, build trust first and rest will come. I already talked about that. So if you want to screenshot this, go ahead, or ask me for it. Okay, final slide. Very quickly. Building in public is authentic audience building. You know that already. But key point is a lot of people, they build in public on Twitter, but their support group is not on Twitter, their audience is not on Twitter, then I'm a bit, I encourage not to do that, because at the end of the day, if you're building in public in front of your target audience, you will keep doing it because it grow your business. So that's very important. It's much easier if you are independent or solopreneurs, because you don't have to get alignment on how transparent you are with people. You're going to see, like, when people grow a business, when the team grows to 10, 20, 30 people, they will start sharing, they will stop sharing the building in public things. It's not because they don't want to, it's because, wow, how do we align on what to share, what not to share? It's just a headache and it's not worth it. So they stop doing it. The moment you crave growth and numbers, you lose authenticity. That's why I never look at my follower accounts. How much you want to share is based on your comfortable level. So if you don't want to share income, it's fine. A lot of people ask me like, oh, I want to build in public. Do I need to share everything? No. It's about finding that line that you're comfortable with and stay within the line. But of course, I encourage you to be an entrepreneur and push it a little bit more every single month or year. Stop imitating someone, discover who you really are. Building in public is not about, okay, I'm going to do this 2 points together. Some people ask me, building in public, I have 4 products. How do I do it? Building in public is about you. It's not about your products. So you can talk about all your products. You can talk about anything. But you have to first discover the values and the principles that you believe, and then you can show it to people. Lastly, my last point of the day. A lot of people think that building in public is just like sharing, right? Writing the tweets, writing the blog posts. But I have to remind everyone that even though we're on the internet, it all comes down to people. So take time to meet people up, do video chat, help them out. It's all people business. So big part of building in public. So I think that's all from me. I don't think, I'm free to stay here for Q&A, but you can find me on Twitter, obviously. So thank you so much for listening to me. Yeah.
Awesome. No, this has been incredible. It's tough. Like, building in public is tough. So this is really, really, really useful. Like, starting point. Maybe, yeah, if you have a little bit of time for questions, Kevon, be great just to see, if people here have any, and we can field them across to you. So yeah, I guess
I'll be here.
Yeah, come off mute if you've got any questions.
I have one, if no one else.
Yeah, all
Okay,
yours.
so
Hi, Kelly.
So hi, Kevon. Thanks for this.
Yeah.
My question is, you mentioned it about when your audience isn't necessarily on Twitter. I feel like a lot of build in public is geared at other people building in public, or like tech Twitter or no code Twitter. But if you're building for someone, like I'm building a thing for grant writers, and they're just not like, they don't congregate online as far as I can tell. So I've been struggling with, like, is it even worth putting it out there in that way, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering what your thoughts are on that.
That's definitely a good question, because if they're not on Twitter, then why do it on Twitter? I mean, there must be a way you're communicating with them, right? Maybe your newsletter, maybe your Instagram page, I don't know. So building in public is a mindset. If you're writing your newsletter in a very like, oh, I'm going to dump all the content that we wrote to you to read, maybe you can add some transparency in that newsletter when you send it to them. And you can talk about your, like, they are interested in how you build up your business as well. So maybe include three lines about what decision you're making. And that is building in public in front of your audience. And honestly, I don't think you need to be tweeting building in public posts in order to be building in public. If you're just including a few lines in your monthly newsletter, to me, you're building in public because you're being transparent and authentic. So, but that's my personal answer.
So I need to be communicating with them in some way, because there's no newsletter. There's none of that. There's none of that at this point. But
you must have a way to talk to them, right? Otherwise, how can they be your customers?
Right, they're not. That's kind of the point, is they're not at this point. Anyway, I don't know if I'm the right use case, because I'm sort of just learning the software as I'm building. And yeah. So it's not, there's no customers yet, but yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm sort of in a similar situation where I don't really have an audience per se to start with. So, you know, I'm considering writing like a self-help ebook type thing. So I was, you know, do you have advice for somebody who would like to figure out where to find the audience for something like that?
If you look back into my journey, when I started writing that building in public guide, I had no audience as well. Mm-hmm. So that is the best example where you don't really need an audience to start with. But I guess it's important to figure out how you can reach the first 10 people in that particular audience. Like, they could live in some Slack communities, some random community forums on the internet. Just be there. I mean, as entrepreneur, we need to know where the target audience is, right? If we don't, I don't think we can even get product market fit. So it's just learn that to find them. Yeah.
That's
and even 1 to 5, 10 people doesn't matter. Just start with them. It will grow.
That's a great answer. I just want to ask you too, what would you say, would you say SEO or Twitter were more helpful to you, or maybe a combination of both? Or what do you feel like was more the most powerful thing in your audience building arsenal?
If you want to see results and interaction right away, then Twitter is definitely a good place, because it's every day is happening. But I personally, you know, sometimes I'm exhausted from Twitter and I just don't want to do anything. So SEO is more like a long-term strategy where I know it's important and I'm going to invest time to do that. And I rank for building in public now, so that's great. So Twitter is short-term, SEO is long-term, and you have to do both. You can focus on one, but if you're aiming for the long game, you have to do both. Yeah, but just do them in parallel so that you're not discouraged, because SEO takes time.
When's your next cohort? Is that next month?
July 1st.
July 1st?
Yeah, July 1st.
Cool.
Any more questions for Kevon? Yeah, I mean, if anyone doesn't, I'm just curious actually how I think you touched on it in your presentation, but kind of leading by example when you're building your community and kind of doing the things that you want your community to be actually, so sort of embodying your message fully. Like, is that a really intentional like approach when you're building your community, or at least the beginnings of it for Public Labs?
I think so. Yeah, I think as the community builder, people look at Kevon when they look at public lab. So I just don't think if I'm not doing something and I preach to do something, it's gonna work in the long term. So I think it's important. Like, for example, your community is also like under your name, right? So it's very closely connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. Is it? I'm wary that it is your bedtime now. It is so late. So, anyone got any more questions for Kevon? Doesn't look like it. Jelma, not a sneaky question.
No questions. But this was amazing, Kevon. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And I live tweeted it throughout, by the way. So if you want me to remove it, let me know.
No. That's building in public. Thank you.
Oh, good stuff. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Kevon, for your time today. Before we wrap up, is there any closing remarks that you have for the group that you want to share before we close up?
I guess the last thing I want to say is I spent quite a lot of time, because in the last 8-9 years, I've been heads down executing, growing the business. And I never really find time to understand myself, who I am, what I value. So now I'm super conscious. Like every week I think about, is it worth spending my time here? So I encourage you to spend more time reflecting and plan instead of just like do what everyone is saying. Oh, tweet a lot, grow your audience. Yeah, reflection is key. And yeah, I guess if you're interested in Public Lab or the cohort, then contact me. Or if you just have random questions, just DM me. I'm happy to help anytime. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be sharing those links with the video as well, so people can find them. Cool. Thank you, everyone, for sparing your time, and catch you all next week. Yeah, have a good one, guys, and see you all on Twitter and Slack. Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks, Max.
Bye.